I am writing this enveloped in an overwhelming sense of terror and urgency, a plea for help in the face of the inexplicable. It all started 2 days ago, a day that was supposed to be just another mundane chapter in my life. My friend Jake, someone I've known since our sandbox days, came to my house. His eyes, usually calm and jesting, were wide and wild, a storm of fear and excitement swirling in them. He had made a chilling discovery in the dense forest that looms ominously behind his house. Buried under a pile of leaves and dirt was a camcorder, old and battered, as if it had been lying there, forgotten by time. Despite an unsettling feeling gnawing at me, suggesting the device could be linked to something sinister, possibly even a crime, Jake's enthusiasm and curiosity were infectious. We had no particular plans, and this seemed like an unexpected, albeit strange, adventure. So we set about uncovering the camcorder's secrets. We connected it to my old, barely functioning TV, the anticipation hanging heavy in the air. I hoped against hope that it would contain nothing more than mundane, everyday recordings. At first, my hopes seemed to be confirmed. The screen crackled to life, showing a typical peaceful scene. A man clad in nondescript hiking attire, walking his dog, a sprightly golden retriever, along a path dappled with sunlight filtering through the canopy. It was a picture of serenity, but that was soon to be shattered. As they approached a large, fallen log, the man easily hopped over it. He turned to coax his dog to follow, and that's when the ordinary splintered into the realm of nightmares. The dog hesitated, and then its body began to contort in a way that defiled logic and nature. It twisted and warped, its shape morphing into a hideous humanoid form. Standing on its hind legs, its front limbs grotesquely transformed into something resembling human arms. It vaulted over the log with a disturbing grace. The man's silence behind the camera was more terrifying than any scream. All that could be heard was his shallow, ragged breathing, as if he was witnessing something beyond his comprehension. I wished he would turn the camera away, but he didn't. He kept filming, his hands barely steady, despite the horror unfolding before him. Jake and I were frozen, transfixed by the grotesque spectacle on the screen. I felt trapped in my own body, unable to speak, move, or even blink. Then a sound erupted from the TV, a screech so harrowing and unearthly that it seemed to freeze my very soul. It was impossible to tell whether it came from the man or the monstrosity that the dog had become. Jake was shaking uncontrollably, his mind a battleground between denial and burgeoning terror. He attempted to convince himself, and me, that it was just some sick joke, a digitally altered video. Anything but the stark, terrifying reality that we were facing. We agreed that we had to take the camcorder to the police at the first light of dawn. Jake, too frightened to return to his own home, decided to stay the night. But when morning arrived, I was met with a new horror. Jake was gone, vanished, without a trace. The camcorder lay on my coffee table, an ominous statement to the previous night's events. I've tried calling him, texting him, but there's been no response. Panic is setting in. The more I dwell on it, the more I'm consumed by the fear that what we witnessed on that tape is lurking out there in the real world. And now, with Jake missing, I'm paralyzed by the thought of stepping outside, scared of what might be waiting. I'm torn about involving the police. What if they dismiss my story as a delusion, or worse, accuse us of meddling with evidence or concocting the entire story? But I can't remain idle. Not while my friend could be in grave danger. I need advice, any insight. Have any of you heard of something like this happening? What should I do? Please, I'm begging for help. I just want to find Jake, to know he's safe. Update. As I sit here, writing this, every creak and whisper of my house sends shivers down my spine. The disappearance of Jake, immediately following our viewing of that cursed footage, has left me in a state of constant dread. My mind keeps replaying that night, every grotesque detail etched into my memory, the screech from the tape echoing in my ears. I've tried to distract myself, to think rationally. Perhaps Jake had left early for some reason, maybe to seek help, or because he was too scared to face what we had seen. But deep down, I know these were just attempts to comfort myself. The silence from his phone was unlike him. He always responded, no matter the hour. As the day dragged on, the camcorder on the table seemed to grow more ominous. I couldn't bring myself to watch the footage again, yet I couldn't leave it untouched. It felt like a Pandora's box, holding secrets too terrifying to comprehend, yet too compelling to ignore. I debated over and over about going to the police, but fear of disbelief and the possibility of being implicated in something sinister held me back. The isolation of my home, once a peaceful sanctuary, now felt like a trap. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound seemed to hint at something lurking just out of sight. Nightfall brought no relief, only a deeper, more suffocating fear. The darkness outside my window felt alive, as if hiding unspeakable horrors. Unable to bear the solitude and silence, I decided to do some research. I scoured the internet for any similar occurrences, any folklore or urban legends that might explain what we had seen. Hours passed in a blur of frantic searching, but all I found were tales and speculations. Nothing concrete, nothing real. As midnight approached, a decision weighed heavily on me. Do I risk the exposure and skepticism of the police, or do I venture into the forest, the last place Jake was known to be? The forest, with its dense trees and dark underbrush, seemed to call out to me, a siren song of answers and unseen dangers. I mustered all the courage I could, deciding to venture into the forest under the cloak of night. Armed with a flashlight and a determination fueled by fear and the need to find Jake, I stepped into the cold night air. Every step towards the forest felt heavier, as if I was walking into the mouth of madness. The forest at night was a different realm. The sounds of nocturnal creatures and the rustling of leaves creating a symphony of unease. I tried to retrace the steps we imagined the man in the footage would have taken, hoping against hope to find some clue, some sign of Jake. Hours seemed to pass as I delved deeper into the woods, the beam of my flashlight a meager comfort against the oppressive darkness. Then I heard it. A sound that froze me in my tracks. A screech, distant, yet unmistakably similar to the one from the camcorder. My heart raced, my mind torn between running away and pushing forward. I crept towards the sound, each step feeling like an eternity. And there, in a small clearing, I found something that chilled me to my very core. It was Jake's phone, lying on the ground. Its screen cracked, a single message displayed that he had never got to send. It read, "It's real. It's here." Terror overtook me, an urge to flee, consuming every thought. But I couldn't leave, not without finding Jake. I pressed on, the forest seeming to close in around me, the darkness a tangible force. The screech sounded again, closer this time, a harrowing reminder of the nightmare we had unleashed. I don't know how long I wandered, lost and afraid, but eventually I stumbled upon a clearing, and there, in the moonlight, I saw it. A figure, grotesque and humanoid, standing over something or someone. My breath caught in my throat. Was it Jake? Was this the creature from the footage? I'm back home now, writing this. I ran. I couldn't help it. The fear was too much. I left the forest, left the figure, left Jake, if it was him. I'm at a loss, shaking and unsure. Should I go to the police? Tell them everything? But who would believe such a story? A story of a twisted creature, a missing friend, and a tape that should never have been found. If you're reading this, please help. I don't know what to do. I'm scared, not just for Jake, but for myself, for anyone who steps into that forest. Please, if you know anything, if you can offer any advice or help, I'm begging you. I just want to find my friend, to understand what's happening, to end this nightmare.